There's going to be versions too. That way we can track versions. We can do that in Mutter or Cloud, or if we have different things. So I'll add that on before Wednesday. Then there's going to be a section on weekly tasks. We're going to have to run smoke tests the way the automation team runs their reports, right? So they basically run reports and then report on errors, and then they wait till those errors are fixed, and then they run again. We're going to have to start running smoke tests much more frequently. So probably as soon as they put in new code to the test environment that's the path to production. So let's say that the February release or the November 5th release is going like tomorrow, right? But for the next release, as soon as code goes in the environment, so let's say it's Thursday. I'm just throwing out, I have no idea when, but let's say on Thursday they put the new code in the environment. Then on Thursday we want to run a smoke test, and we want to just sort of see how the scripts are running. Chances are there may be problems due to the environment. There might be some data issues, so we might not be able to do a lot. But the idea is that we'll run, and then when they put in a fix, we'll run again. So every time they put in new code, we're going to run a quick smoke test, like 10-minute test.
Okay.
And the reason is, since we have to run these load tests every 2 weeks, we want to sort of make sure that our tests are good as fast as possible. So like if we run a smoke test and we see there's environment issues, then we can go to the team and say, hey, the smoke test isn't working because we have an error in the environment. And when they tell us it's fixed, we run again. And then we run again and everything's good, then we're ready to run, presuming they don't put in another code change. But if they put in another code change, we need to run again and then validate again. So just the way the automation team, they'll spend like a week running almost every day trying to get the report clean. We're going to be doing a similar process with smoke test until that we know that our smoke test is good. That way, the second the release is clean, we can know what we need to fix, and we can fix it as fast as possible, and then we can run the full load test. Because otherwise what's going to happen is we're going to end up with a release where clean code goes in on like a Tuesday, and we need to run the load test by Thursday, and we haven't looked at anything, and if we have a lot of issues or we got to redo a lot of scripts, it's really tough to finish everything in like 48 hours. So we're going to start running more smoke tests with the idea or the goal being to help us maintain the scripts better and make changes as needed. So that it'll be outlined in more detail, and we'll go over it in more detail on Wednesday. And I want to go over this with RK in more detail as well and see what he wants to add in or tweak. But basically, I want to get us to, we're going to run smoke tests probably multiple times a week and do scripts updates as necessary throughout the week, just to make sure that when it comes time to, hey, we need to run a load test, we can kick it off as fast as possible. The other section, I just started this one today, so there's not a lot of detail. This is correlations and parameters. I think this will be somewhat helpful. I'm going to have naming conventions here too, so that we know how to name. So every script that has the same parameter, the parameter will always be named the same for each script. So it's a username or password, it'll always be the same name or URL, and it'll always have the same data. So that I'll have, and then correlations, I'm going to put a list of all the correlations that we know that we need to do on like login or for orders or quotes. So that would be, all the JWT tokens and all that stuff. We'll have a list of these are the correlations that we need to make sure that we have in place based on what we know today, right? And that can change, that list can modify as we learn, but that way it can have a reference so that as you're scripting, you'll have a reference, say, okay, these are the correlations I need to make sure I include in the script. And then as far as parameters, this is how we're going to name it. And so that's what it will be. It'll basically be a list of sort of weekly tasks and then scripting standards and naming conventions, right? Things, nothing difficult. But then what you'll do is as you're scripting, we'll start following this stuff, and then our scripts will become more standardized. And I hope that they'll become easier to update and modify and maintain. So that's sort of the goal, if that makes sense.
Okay, Paul. Thank you so much, Paul.
Yeah. So, and I said on Wednesday we'll go over this in a lot more detail, but just that's just the overview. It's just to give you a base outline of tasks to work on throughout a normal week, whether I'm here or not. And then obviously, as we get new scripts, you'll work on those too, right? So like it won't just be maintenance. There'll be the potential for like we need to add on some more scripts in QAE, I think, and we also need to add in a few scripts in there's a new tool they want us to add a script on RWM. It's a very simple script. I don't have the username password, but we'll be doing that probably this month in November. So like if we get a new tool to script or something like that, you'll obviously get that ticket to do the new scripting as well. But this will basically give you a guideline of on a normal week, what do I need to do, right?
Right.
And look at. So just a base outline. And then I think it will be helpful. And then from there, I said from here we'll expand and add on. The other thing I want to do once we sort of get the scripts and the names, I'll make a repository of all our test cases somewhere that's easy to find, so that based on the script, you can just go look. Okay, this is the test case, and here are the steps, and it will have that, and we'll have a central repository. I don't have that yet, but that'll be after I finish this. I'll work on it, and then I think that will be very helpful.
Okay.
Um, all right, so that's all I have for today. I said on Wednesday we'll go over this in a lot more detail. Hopefully, my voice will be 100% back. Um, and we can we'll record that session. Um, is there anything you want to go over today?
No, Paul.
Okay.
I'm free of time. I learned to sprung.
Okay. No problem.